Executive Women in Transport. So I know we've got a few non-members here today who are joining us, and so very welcome if this is your first Women in Transport event. While we're waiting for a few more people to join, I'll tell you a bit about Women in Transport. We're a professional network that whose aim is to support the professional development of women working in the transport sector, but we are inclusive and open to everyone. So we offer mentoring, networking, volunteering opportunities, and also our lead development program. And we host a range of events every month. So we've got Steve here who's managing the Zoom along with Katie Linton, and they manage a fantastic program of events for us, around 4 events a month, as well as we've got a number of external events that we do. Okay. Anybody else in the waiting room, Steve? No? Brilliant. Okay, well, in which case we'll kick off. So welcome everybody. This is our advanced introduction to our Advanced 2020 programme. I'm Chief Women in Transport's Chief Exec with Sonia Byers, and together with Angela Gainsford, who I'll allow to introduce herself in a moment, we manage the Advanced programme. So the Advanced Mentoring Programme has been going for 4 years now, and last year, because of lockdown, we had a completely virtual programme for the first time. We've helped and supported over 190 mentors and mentees during that time. And myself and Angela spend a significant amount of time reading applications every year and matching people together. We offer training as part of the programme, and Steve and Kirsten, who are on, both on this call today, are our volunteer engagement leads for our mentor and mentee pairs, and so they support the mentors and mentee cohorts respectively during the programme. So today we're going to be hearing from 2 of our mentees and 2 of our mentors from the Advanced programme about their experiences. And before we move on to that, I'll let Angela Gainsford tell you a little bit about herself and her involvement in the programme.
Hi, good afternoon. Do you know, I've got a huge amount of pleasure from running this programme with Sonia. Most of my consultancy work draws on my railway operations expertise, whether that's sort of designing new build and operational concepts. And while people are part of that, they're not a huge part. So Advance has really allowed me to draw on my earlier HR and my interest in people and behaviour, and particularly helping people in the transport sector to develop their careers. Collaborating with Sonia to design and run Advance has been a joy, especially hearing how both sets of participants, that's mentors and mentees, have got so much on their journey through their mentoring experience. And so I'm really glad that we've got this session so that you can hear from them their experience and perhaps some of the ups and downs of going through the mentoring themselves, and perhaps that will inspire you to apply for our programme for 2022, which unbelievably is the 5th year of running this. So without further ado, I'll hand back to Sonia and we can start this session today.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Angela. And, you know, really, it has been an absolute joy to work with Angela. When we first started the programme, we were both delivering our time as volunteers, and we never imagined that we would be talking about a programme going into our 5th year. So this is just fantastic. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker, which is Charlie Barnes. And Charlie was on our programme in 2019 and is volunteer for our D&I bus group. So Charlie's going to share her experience with the programme and what mentoring means to her. So passing on to Charlie.
Cool, thanks Sonia. As you said, my name's Charlie Barnes. I work at SSE Distributed Energy as a project development manager, exclusively in the electric vehicle team. My role, drawing on my previous experience working for a bus operator, is specifically designing and building electric bus garages, which is a super cool job. And to be honest, I owe that almost 100% to the Advanced scheme and the support that my mentor provided me through this process. So a little bit more, I guess, starting at the beginning, is why did I join Women in Transport in the first place? Is because I joined the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. I met Sonia through that, and honestly, she was making me jealous, all the cool stuff she was talking about with women in transport. So I signed up and I attended a huge amount of in-person events, and have also found so many of the events, both the regular chats, but also all the online talks they've been doing, amazing. And it's kind of mostly kept me sane throughout the pandemic. So cannot, shout enough about everything that Women in Transport has done for me. So as I was kind of busily going, right, what can I get involved in Women in Transport? The Advanced Mentoring Scheme came up. And one of the main appeals for me was to get an external perspective. I'd joined the bus operator I was working for directly out of university onto the graduate scheme. I'd received a couple of internal promotions. I was doing well, but I was starting to think, how can I widen my breadth of experience? Can I start looking elsewhere? And although I worked with a fantastic team of people, it's really nice to have, that really fresh perspective to both how your organization does things and, how you operate and how you perceive things. So joining the Advanced Mentoring Scheme gave me that opportunity to get someone else to have this outsider perspective and, widen and open my eyes a little bit. So that is exactly what the scheme has delivered, to be honest. My mentor was absolutely fantastic from the outset. I prepared a little kind of shopping list of things I wanted to talk about and gain throughout the scheme when we first met. And very quickly from initial discussions, they really managed to narrow it down to what are the targets, what do we want out of this? And as well as kind of broadening my experience, what I can do internally, one of the things I said is I want a job. It doesn't need to be quick, but I'm looking to move on from my current operator. I want to move on to something exciting and find the right role and move into that in a kind of strategic, well thought out manner. I'd never done that before. As I said, I'd gone internally. And so just having someone's perspective on where to start looking for jobs, understanding what my priorities are, and even how to negotiate in the early stages of kind of applying and going through the interview process, all are really interesting things that we discussed kind of throughout while I was looking for jobs, thinking, how can I utilize my network? There was the offer from my mentor to utilize their network as well. I ended up not needing it. And I think this is the thing that was fantastic about the mentoring scheme to me is someone recommended this external job to me because they thought it was a really good role, utilized bus experience and my project management. I applied for the job. I'd actually met the hiring manager before, so sent them a little cheeky email nudge to say, remember me, and, went straight through to the interview process. So, the mentor didn't have to set anything up for me, but having that person there to talk to bounce off ideas and have that inspiration really helped me. Because even though I know it's a fact that it's something like women wait until they meet 100% of expectations listed in a job listing before they apply, whereas women tend to wait till it's about 60%. Even though I knew that, I still looked at this job and thought, I really want to do it, but can I? I don't meet all those boxes. And having someone reminding me of course you can, let's go through experiences, top up your CV, giving me those interview tips, gave me that confidence to really go in that interview and honestly absolutely smash it, I like to think. Next stage, it was through to building up more detailed kind of project. It was answering some strategic questions. And again, my mentor, I put it all together. They offered to review it, give me some tips for the interview, and it's something I've never done before. So it was nice to have that external and fresh perspective. And fantastically, the meetings are less frequent now, but actually 2 years on, I still regularly reach out to my mentor and have the odd chat just to kind of check up, ask any questions, see how I'm doing, and to be able to go through the process of, sadness of leaving the old job, excitement of starting the new one, settling in, setting those early targets to really make that good impression. It's been fantastic to throughout that have, as I said, that external perspective, someone that really helps me pull out my own head and think, sit back, what's the important stuff, bounce ideas off them. And quite easily, I kind of find my mentor is, I love having sessions in the morning. We'd set up, have a kind of Zoom meeting, 9 o'clock, have a cup of tea, bounce ideas off first thing. And my mentor has amazing energy. And I absolutely love just bounce ideas, talking to them, because they inspire me and excite me and turn what might be early morning moans of, I'm struggling with this a bit at the moment, into this challenge of, right, what can I do? How can I action that? And having sometimes that external person just to go, give you a little nudge and say, think about this, you can do this, crack on, do it better, or just have that different perspective on it, that because I was so in my little rut, maybe didn't think to step back and look at the bigger picture. Having all those benefits for someone that I kind of trust and feel I can reach out to, whether it's urgently, I need to chat with you in the next couple of weeks, something's happened, or, oh, how are you doing? It's been a few months, let's check in. There's been an absolutely fantastic bonus and a real kind of guide throughout the pandemic when it has been a weird time for everyone. So I'd say that's everything I have to say on it. If anyone has any questions later, I'll happily answer any. But overall, I would say I have just gained so much from this scheme. It's been an absolutely fantastic experience, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Charlie. I love your enthusiasm and energy. Every time I see you, I feel enthused just from your energy in itself. So hopefully, you know, Charlie's experience showing you how mentoring can help you, just give you that different perspective, can energize you, can give you focus, can help you reframe things that are going on for you, and can give you support outside of your own organisation and existing structures that you have. And that's a really important element of Advance. We match people outside of their organisations. So now we're going to speak to Inez Javier. She's been on the programme for this year, which is our first year of having a completely virtual programme, about her experience. So Inez, and if you do have any questions for anybody on the panel or for myself and Angela, do pop them in the chat and we'll pick them up towards the end of the session.
Hi, I'm Inês. I'm a senior architect at Weston Williamson. I joined Women in Transport around 2018. So while after changing to transport and infrastructure sector, I have worked in many different countries and in different sectors. But here in London, I felt that joining Women in Transport, also because my friend Kirsten, give me support and tools to succeed in my career while building my network. And yeah, it has been an organization that has helped me to build myself in terms of person, but also in terms of career-wise. In terms of the advanced program, I decided to apply because I felt last year I understood that I was not focused on my career, and it was good to understand what I really want. And during the pandemic, I was just focused on getting the job done and probably bake my sourdough every Saturday. And I think I needed to be in this program to look myself in a mirror, analyze and understand what I want to achieve with my career, because sometimes you just stay in the loop of getting the job done and you actually don't look to yourself for the future and how it will progress. In terms of process, there were different moments. It was virtual, but I felt that my connection with my mentor was great. I have to say it was a great match. I even had a kind of a meltdown during summer. So it was, for one side, I was pleased that it was virtual because I could do from my bedroom and not being in person crying, but it was amazing. And I think beyond that, which was, I was comfortably with crying because it was venting out and a lot of things happening at the same time. I remember that I think in terms of process, probably the worst ever was the beginning, which meant after you set up your objectives and what you want to achieve with this session, you start having the sessions. And I think the first thing my mentor asked was, so Inês, do you have a 5-year plan? And for me, that was basically a drama. Probably Kirsten remembers because I was chasing it, because we had a group chat with WhatsApp of the mentees talking about, does anyone did this before? Do you have reference? Because I never stopped to actually do something similar to that, which is look to yourself in 5 years and understand what you want. And I just keep going and keep changing and etc. So it was a very hard exercise, but somehow I nailed it. And after that, it was funny because a lot of friends start doing it. And I shared with the mentee group. So it was good because it could help others in a way. And I think I even have to share with Women in Transport the template. I have a post-it somewhere saying that. But in terms of the process and of the objectives, they change. So in the beginning, I have a very clear setup of what change I wanted. And because I was looking for a more senior role and grow within or out of my company. But it was funny enough that after 2 months starting, I actually achieved that internally. So I was like, oh, and now what? Now I have what I want. So it's kind of how do I deal with it? So it was kind of, and it's funny because my mentor understood that now you have what you wanted until now, but is that enough? was a process kind of was a process that developed from it. In a way, it was kind of because I went to, yes, I want this, I got this, but actually it's not just this that I want. So it's an evolving process, and it changed, and that's the thing of being fluid. It's great. So, and now, for example, I understand that I actually just want to get back to my initial objective, and currently working on and see where it's going to lead me, and understand what kind of opportunities as an architect on the infrastructure and transport there are beyond being on an architectural firm. So I'll keep using my 5-year plan to kind of bounce back and understand as a reference where I want to be, and understand what do I want to achieve from it. But yeah, I think even our relationship with my mentor evolved alongside this whole process. I'm lucky because I can say that I will continue my relationship with my mentor. Actually, we are going to have the 7th or the 8th session next week. And I guess from here, we're going to see where it will lead, because I think I need to still learn more about, and how Charlie said was this thing of bouncing ideas, define strategies, read about roles, understand if you know enough. And I think it's that conversation that Charlie was also mentioning, is we women in general think we don't tick all the boxes. So it will be to understand that, and how can I improve my CV, and etc. So it has been a great experience. I will advise anyone, if you can, just try it and go for it, because it's good to have an outside perspective of you as a professional, of your company, and in a way enjoy the process, because it's always good to talk with someone that understands your job in a way, and questions you and helps you to reflect about you, your career, and etc. So yeah, it has been great. And if you have any questions, just in the end of the session, we were happy to answer. Thank you.
Brilliant, Inez. Thanks so much for sharing your experience. So, there's so much that Inez talked about there, about how, mentoring is that safe space. And I think especially during the challenges of the pandemic, that has become even more important for many of our members. Having the peer-to-peer support. So I mentioned at the beginning that we have a mentee and mentor engagement lead. So that's Steve for the mentors and Kirsten Gallo for the mentees, and they have a WhatsApp group. So in that WhatsApp group, each respective group can offer each other support during the program. They meet 3 times a year as well via Zoom, and that's a really important part of it. It's having those shared experiences, diverse experiences. So it's not just your mentor that you have support from, it's also that peer-to-peer support. And changing objectives. So when we have an online application form for Advance, and we do ask you to be really specific about what your objective is, because it's a structured program. So what we ask is a commitment to 6 one-hour sessions between January and September from both the mentee and the mentor. Now, for some people, like Inez mentioned, after the first couple of months, she actually achieved the original objective she had. And it's thinking then, what do I want to get out of their sessions? How do I want to progress that? And being flexible about it. So the initial objective that we ask you to think about is because it is focused, because the mentors are volunteering their time, and you're taking this time. We appreciate you're busy as mentees as well, and you're investing this time in your personal development. So you want to get something concrete and out of it. So you really need to think about, am I ready for this mentoring relationship? What do I want to achieve in that time? How am I going to carve out time for myself? And what is going to be my focus in those moments? And how am I going to make the most of this experience? Now, you might not have all of those answers, but at this moment, you've got a month before the application's open for Advance. So it's a good time to start thinking about it now. And really do that work for yourself, and that self-reflection for yourself. And it's not something you have to do on your own. You can talk to others around you, just like Inez has mentioned there. And remember that it's up to you to own that process, and it can evolve over time, and your mentor can help you with that process as you go along. So now, speaking of mentors, we're going to pass on to our fabulous mentors. So we're going to hear from Marnie, first of all, who is our Vice President, about her experience. She's been a mentor for a couple of years in the programme, and then Matthew. So I'm going to pass to Marnie now.
Hi, everybody. So it has been an interesting journey as a mentor as part of Advance. I think I can reflect on what Charlie and Inez have said. There's some fantastic opportunities, not just for the mentees, but for the mentors as well. There's a lot of mutual learning, and certainly we have a wonderful program here that is more successful than Married at First Sight. So there's a good matching there by Sonia and Angela. So aside from that, back to the sort of formal introduction. So my name's Marnie Marizzi. As Sonia mentioned, I'm Vice President of Women in Transport. I'm also an associate at Mott MacDonald. I joined Women in Transport right at the very beginning, getting on about 16 years ago now. So Women in Transport for me has always been this amazing network of support that's been there pretty much throughout most of my career. And I'm really, really excited to be able to be part of helping with this programme. And I've been a mentor for the last 2 advanced programmes. During that time, of course, we've had the pandemic going on and all the shifting and shuffling around with how we actually meet with our mentees. So I'm going to touch a little bit on that, and really what motivated me and how I've learned and hopefully imparted some mutual learning with mentees. But I think it's really important to just reflect and recognise that we learn a lot from our mentees, as well as being able to help. So I have, as I say, 2 years of mentoring, and for me, it's very much about the mutual learning piece. It's very much about the diversity of transport as well. So I've had mentees who have been in very different occupations, part of the transport industry, but doing very different roles. And we know that we have a very diverse workforce. So actually, as a mentor, it's great to be able to speak to someone who's not doing the same job you are. It's also fantastic for them to be able to hear from someone who's doing something different, and you can have that sort of discussion around what our working roles are and what we're doing. Up to the point, so what motivated me to become a mentor was really around giving back. And up to the point that I started as an advanced mentor, I'd been mentoring in different capacities through my work previously, but also making sure that I also had mentors. And I think it's really important that not only do we recognise the need to have a mentor, but also the need to be mentored. It's very much a simultaneous relationship. And it's about keeping learning. So even as a mentor, it doesn't mean we're going to come to you with all the answers. In fact, we're helping you to find your answers for your objectives. It's actually really important to us that we sort of help you and help you to bring up your own confidence and empower you to develop and to grow. And I've seen my mentees grow in fantastic ways, and really of their own accord. And they always, you get to the end and think, oh, thanks so much. Didn't do anything. It's actually the mentee does pretty much everything. We're just there to be a guiding, critical friend, discussion, whatever. We actually are just there really to serve and help you, to empower you and to help you grow. So for me, what I gained from it, I learned a lot from the mentees I had, not just because they were in different roles to me and different types of work within the transport industry, but because of the different challenges we all have, whether that's, training, whether it's, qualifications, whether it's to do with our actual working structure, whether it's to do with our actual work roles and our actual content of our work. Really vast discussions, and I welcomed every single conversation with my mentees where we could have open, honest discussion. And there are sometimes points where you go, wow, I actually, I don't know. As I say, we don't come with all the answers, but what we do come with is hopefully a package of tools that we have to help you find the answers and to help you to grow and develop yourselves. Challenges, well, certainly for me at the start of the pandemic, I was working out on site 4 days a week. So to then have a meeting with my mentee initially, my very first mentee, I had to make sure that was in the diary and I could get away from site to be in London to go to a traditional meeting. Do we remember those? It's been a while. But we are slowly getting back to that kind of thing. But for me, it was really important that we met face to face at that point. Now, I think the value of virtual meetings like this is much greater. It's had to be, so it's become a different norm, hasn't it? But the mentee meeting that we had initially was fantastic because we were able to really discuss quite honestly and openly, the objective that needed to be met. The commitment coming from the mentees, that's really important, and the commitment we make as well. So for me, it required me to organise, childcare, who's having my children, organise where I'm going. If I'm going into London, I'm not going out to a construction site. It's a day out of orange PPE, so it meant normal clothes, which was a thumbs up at that point. So for me, it was a completely different day. So I absolutely adored meeting my mentee. Fast forward into the pandemic, suddenly I've got a mentee that I really want to be able to give that sort of dedicated time to. Actually, the challenge then is 2 children running in and out and interrupting. And of course, we've all had different experiences with the pandemic. So we've all had times, or most of us have had times where there have been periods of worry and concern. And I think it's important to reflect on that. And we don't always know what's going on in other people's lives. It's not our place to get involved in that. But we provide support and we help each other. So that's really important. So the pandemic, I think, brought those challenges around. But I had fantastic matches, again, going back to Sonia and Angela's fantastic work. And I still keep in touch and have quite a good relationship with the mentees that I've had. The 6 sessions, sometimes they overrun, sometimes, that's fine. But I think it's the maturity of the mentees that has been the greatest achievement out of it. So actually getting to the end of the sessions and seeing your mentee, just totally confident and able to move forward, to be able to use perhaps tools that you've discussed, perhaps look at things from a different perspective, to reframe things, but ultimately to meet their objectives that they set and to be dedicated to doing that. And throughout the pandemic, I've been really fortunate to have mentees that have kind of gone, yep, this is going on, but I have to deal with this. We're working with this and we're moving forward. And I think that for me is really important, that I've learned, they've learned how to move forward and actually how to help each other in doing that. So as much as my last mentee, I wasn't able to meet that particular mentee in person, it's only been virtual. I hope one day in the future that I can meet that person. I actually really look forward to that. But I think ultimately what I would say from being a mentor is this is very much about us supporting each other. So we, reiterate, we don't come with all the answers, but we will help you to find a way forward on your objectives. And if we can't, if we can't help you directly, we want you to have those tools, to be able to use those tools, and the tools that we hopefully impart and discuss and move forward with you with, you can use those for longer than this program lasts. And our relationships typically are lasting longer than this program. So it's creating this sort of this bigger legacy than perhaps I think we realise at the moment. And I think for our industry, that's really quite powerful. I should probably stop there, probably over time.
Not over time at all. Thanks so much for that, Marnie. Absolutely fantastic. And Marnie touched on a lot of the things that we talk about. The power of mentoring can be, mentors can be a facilitator, they can be a sounding board, they can give you guidance, they can share their experience, and it's very different from coaching. You might look at specific skill, or it's a time sensitive thing where you're getting training for something. It is very much about them sharing their learning, their experience, their background with you, and how they've overcome challenges. And then what you do with it as a mentee is very much up to you and how you take that forward. But it's, as we've heard so far, it's very much that two-way relationship. As I said, we only ask the mentors and mentees to sign up to 6 one-hour sessions, but it's ultimately up to them how they decide to structure that, how long the sessions are. They'll come to a mutual agreement of that, and whether they want to continue a relationship. And many of our mentors and mentees have decided to continue a relationship, and we're very fortunate that a lot of our mentors have been on successive programs for us, and we're incredibly grateful for them giving that time. I've definitely seen a butterfly effect in the advanced mentoring program, in that I've seen people use the tools and toolkits that we've provided and we've developed in conjunction with our mentors and mentees based on their feedback and their input into the program. It's very much an agile, continuous improvement model. So over the years, we've developed resources and mentoring agreement, and I know from speaking to our mentors and mentees that they've used those resources to have other mentoring relationships outside of the program, and I think that's really powerful. And I'm really grateful to everyone who's been part of that process and has given us feedback to help us grow this program and really make a difference, I think, in the sector. And now, speaking about making a difference, we've got Matthew Hudson, who's one of our other mentors. He's been a mentor for successive years on the program, and it's an important part of Women in Transport. I said at the outset, we're an inclusive organisation. Male allies are an incredibly important part of who we are and what we do, and around half of our mentors are men in the industry, and it gives a different perspective for our members and for our mentees. So without further ado, I'll let Matthew introduce himself and talk about his experience of Advance.
Super, thank you, Sonia. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Matthew Hudson. I previously worked at Transport for London, that you may have heard of, and I worked there for 20 years. But recently I moved job, and I now work for a consultancy company called Rebel, based in the Netherlands, and we specialise in advice to clients, mainly around fare collection and customer experience around the globe. And I might even share later, that's an interesting experience, changing job while still being in the same yellow room that I have been for the last 2 years. So that's something else exciting. So a couple of things here. Why did I join Women in Transport? And I think a bit of a confession here is worthwhile, which is, you get emails in your email inbox and you think, yeah, that's a good thing, I should do something, and I don't do anything. And you think that. And what I did was I went to one of the events that were organised, and I would say that the events that are organised by Women in Transport are fantastic. I've always enjoyed the ones I've gone to. Turn up to one thinking, yeah, let's just see what this is like. Great people, great discussion. And from there, I sort of committed to say, yeah, let's do some more mentoring with this group. I've done mentoring in the past, so it was great to share. And I think what's interesting also from the mentors' perspective, it's another network for our mentors as well. So we have our WhatsApp group, we have Steve organised Zoom calls, which are always fun as well. So it's a real benefit there, as any networks that we can develop are really important, and that's always something I share. So I've had 3 mentees on this scheme. So I've been it for 3 years now. I'm trying to just reflect on the sort of lessons I've learned and to share with this group here. And fundamentally, each of those sessions is about building a relationship. And I know Marnie spoke about this, and so did Sonia, and it's about a relationship. And of course, each relationship is different because those are 3 very different people. And as a mentor, I'm open to see how that relationship will grow and develop and what areas they want to go to. And it's fascinating as a mentor, to reflect along these and realize how different relationships work for different people as they go on their journey. And one of the things that's sort of really forced me to challenge is to allow things to develop in new and different ways that is driven by the mentee. That's absolutely important. And what you find, or what I find as a mentor, is in some sense it's almost a very easy job, because all the hard work gets done by the mentees, and our job is to listen and question. But actually that is a challenge, and it's a skill that we as mentors are always practicing and talking about and sharing about how we ask questions, how we leave space for things to develop, how we listen, and absolutely how we are not there to give any answers. And I've been very clear, I don't think I've ever given a single answer to any questions whatsoever in my sessions, because that's not what I'm there to do. It's there as a relationship to challenge and ask those questions and help the mentee grow and evolve and find their own answers. I think one of the things that I've also found really beneficial as a mentor, and something that I try to bring to it, is I also do try to bring a bit of sharing of my own experiences and my own challenges. I don't think we should ever sit there and for people to think, the mentor is this experienced person that knows it all and knows it all, because we haven't. None of us have. We are all faced with, whether it's the practicalities of challenging with childcare and managing our time in hybrid, or even just sharing. I found it interesting sharing that I was thinking about changing job. Now I feel very comfortable to share that with my mentee. Check she was okay with that as well, because it's an interesting thing to share that as a mentor we have challenges, and that's really helped in sort of growing relationships, because you come to that thing with a mindset of just sharing our experiences, because that's what it's all about, to help people move forward. I think the point about whether it's being online is different. I think as Monica said, you miss seeing people in the flesh, but actually, the sessions, we've all had some great training organised by Steve and with Andrew and Sonia, they designed the scheme. We do set goals at the beginning. There is a process to go through, and that is really helpful. One of the things I always say as a mentor, it's the 6 sessions. We'll set our objective at the beginning, we'll review at the end, we'll review as we go through, and that is important to sort of box the activity. You can always carry on forward afterwards, but it's good to have those checking in, because it's not a session, and unfortunately I did this once, not on this scheme, where the conversations just keep going and going, and you're not quite going anywhere, and you're not quite sure how to get out of it. So it is important, and the framework that's put in place is very useful. I would just say that with all my mentees, I actually spend the first 2 sessions, or sort of throw in a bonus session early on, to really challenge and check those objectives that you have. So I would say to all mentees, absolutely follow Sonia's advice of write down objectives, because it forces you to think about it. But I find it been really useful to go and sort of actually challenge those objectives and find the space to think about it, and see if they're exactly right, because we must always just keep questioning to make sure we get the most out of the scheme. So I find that's a very useful aspect that we should all try and do. And in the end, it's just one of the most rewarding things that I do in my day. I would always sit there and cancel every other meeting in order to have a meeting with my mentee, because it is uplifting, it's energizing, it keeps me sharp as well. So I feel in some respects I'm on this sort of like a joyous volunteering job, of which I get absolute joy and pleasure out of. Somebody else does all the work, and I get to have my network. So a bit of a confession, I'm an absolute winner here, and I think that Sonia and Angela won't get rid of me for a while on this if they still want me to come and support. So there are my thoughts, and if anyone has any questions they want to do, then throw at it, and I'd be very happy to answer those.
Oh, brilliant, Matthew. Absolute joy. I love that. The joy and the gift of volunteering that so resonates with me. And thank you so much for all you've done, and for giving your time for Women in Transport. So much there. I love that, having that space and active listening and practicing that skill on an ongoing basis. how much we get from that mutual relationship of mentoring. Angela phrases it really well, that the presenting problem isn't always the actual issue or challenge or the underlying issue that the mentee has, but sort of writing it down and having a starting point gives you something to have that initial conversation with, especially when you're not their manager and you haven't got the context of their organisation. So that's where we found, some people, it's just a guide what we provide, but and some people don't engage in that or do. So we are moving on to our Q&A, and Katie Linton helpfully kicked off the first question. So how are mentees and mentors decided? So essentially we have an online process. So applications open on the 1st of October and are open for 2 weeks. And it's the same process for mentees and mentors. It makes the matching easier for us. You have to fill in an online application form. It's pretty straightforward. The key bit of it is the qualitative question about what you want to get out of the programme. And then Andrew and I simply, a bit like Married at First Sight, actually, Marnie, I was thinking about this yesterday when I watched the episode, and I was watching them match up people. For those who haven't seen it, they sit around the table and they match up people and they talk about different people and they've got the pictures in front of them. And essentially, that is what me and Andrew do. We read through all of the applications separately and independently of each other. And then we look at, what are the individuals looking for? What are the skill sets of the respective mentors? It's sometimes not the match that people would expect, because we look at what are they trying to get out of the programme. And then we sort of do now, we do like a kind of provisional match, if you like. And then they have training, and then we finalise the matches after we've met everybody at the training. So that's how it's done. Yes, Kaylin, the programme will continue to be virtual. So what we found with this year of advance, the 2020 year, is that 2021 year, sorry. I've lost a year with COVID. Is that the virtual programs work really well, because it's allowed us to remove those geographical restrictions that we used to have, and it's given people a lot more space to do it. So whilst, if people can meet in person, sorry, my battery going on, then they're open to doing that. But what we're going to do is make it so it is a virtual program again. Matthew, you've got a question. Feel free to ask it. Oh, you need to unmute.
I was just going to comment around that point around matching, in that the work that I know Sonia and I know Angela does a lot here in really investigating and creating the matches is absolutely fantastic. I've done mentoring in other places where it hasn't had that element, but they've all been wonderful matches. And, I think all the mentors I've spoken to really appreciate that there's a lot of thought gone on around how to match it. And as you say, sometimes you're thinking, well, this is an interesting match. I get it. The wisdom of Angela and Sonia's come through again. So I just to share mentees, the effort put in is really important, that I think makes this scheme very good because of that effort. So just sort of share that thought.
It's actually the most time-consuming bit of the programme. And that's why we don't confirm them until we've done the training, because occasionally we tweak it based on what we hear, because the mentors and mentees have had time to reflect even further between their application process and coming to the training. And sometimes some of the discussion and questions we ask you just flag up another dimension of who and what you are, if you like. So, but we don't get it right every time. There's always, it's trying to get the best possible match. So yes, sometimes we get people going, oh, we weren't initially sure why, but we do put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah. And I'm not sure who this person is, Spar 962622. Is there any eligibility criteria for mentees? So not for mentees. So mentees, it is open to anybody who's a member of Women in Transport. They do have to be a woman, because the programme is consciously exclusive, because our mission is to support women working in transport. but you could be at any level in the transport sector. We've had people who have been right at the top of their profession, have been chief execs. Equally, we've had graduates and apprentices, we've had bus drivers, train drivers. So anybody who works in transport, who's a member of Women in Transport, can apply, and we will match to our best of our ability based on the quality of your application. So the most important question is, what are you trying to get out of this programme? Really think about it.
Can I just say, in terms of criteria, the criteria is the quality of your application. Because we recognise there are ceilings and glass ceilings and other things going on for people at all levels of their career. So the criteria is, think about your application and give enough detail without war and peace to allow us to see what you're trying to achieve.
Exactly that. Does everyone who applies for a mentor get one? No, is the simple answer to that. So there are a limited number of spaces. Last year there were only 15. This year, thankfully, we are increasing our interval. We're hoping to do 30 matches as the minimum. It depends on the applications, obviously, but it comes back to what Angela said. It's about the quality of the application. So we will accept people based on the quality of that application and on the basis of us being able to successfully match them with an appropriate person. There have been occasions where people have been so specific, so for example, mentors, they've been really good, actually on the mentor side, and we thought, oh, that's an amazing application. But then they've been really specific about the type of person they want to help. So then we haven't been able necessarily to match them with somebody. And on the mentee side, if they haven't given us enough information to actually successfully match them, then we're sometimes not able to do that. Zaria, do we have success rates? Number of people got targets, number of women changing work. So we have the things that we measure. We take feedback at different points in the programme. So after the training session, midway point, and at the end, what we look at is like things like the success of the matches. Have you progressed? And we don't necessarily look at, do they change job or anything like that, but how do they feel they've benefited? Because everybody's targets or objectives are different. So what they're trying to get out of the programme is different. So we've got all of that feedback and that information. So yes, we do have that information. We know that the matching has been scored, say 8 out of 10, so 10 being best, 8 and above from all the matches from the last 4 years, from both mentees and mentors. We know that people have had success in terms of either changing jobs or having promotions and achieving what they want to achieve out of the programme. And we have seen people who've gone through this programme go on to be board members, for example, for Women in Transport. We've actually got 2 of our board members, 4 of our board members at the moment have been through the advanced programme at some point. So we know that people have achieved what they've different things. The most common targets. So every year, and everybody's an individual. So what people are trying to achieve is really different. So it might be stepping up into a new position. Maybe they've gone from being operational to a more strategic role, or being technical to a more strategic role. It might be finding their voice in meetings and being heard. It might be trying, maybe they've gone for different promotions and not got anywhere. So it's different from everybody. I see Matthew's got his hand raised. Do you want to add something to that, Matthew?
Yeah. Just a couple of points. I think one of the points is just to emphasize the confidentiality of all this. So although there's the application process, it's down to the mentor and mentee to agree what they're trying to do. And actually, it stays there in some respects. So, in terms of the metrics aren't shared that way, I think I would share my experience is around helping people, move roles. Now that could be because Angela and Sonia have lined that up for me. I don't know what other people do, but that's something that I've found I've ended up doing both within a company or out of the company, in defining where that role is, making that next move, and assisting on that basis. So that's certainly one thing. But as you say, Sonia doesn't read all of the things, but there's the confidentiality. But that's just the experience I've had.
When as Matthew says, by the time the objectives are being agreed between the mentor and mentee, we don't ask to have sight of that. The question we ask is, have you achieved the objectives you set yourself? So our measurement is around the mentee telling us yes or no. But another set of people that apply are people who, as Sonia said, have recently perhaps moved into a more strategic role. So perhaps have gone from being part of a consultancy, a senior consultant, into an associate role where they're suddenly having to get new business rather than just be a technical person, for example, or strategically manage a team, not 2 or 3 people, but a larger team. And so one of the cohorts types of people that we have found in the past are those people, and they're not looking to move again. They're looking to be successful in the move they've just made into a more senior role. So as well as Matthew's examples, there's that type of example as well, or somebody who's not long come out of a graduate scheme and is just feeling they're not heard in meetings. They're not necessarily looking to move because they've just made their move into a junior management position. And there it's about behaviours and confidence, and that borderline between mentoring and coaching then comes in. And sometimes we have mentors who have coaching skills. So although they're not coaches, we might match somebody like that more with somebody who also has coaching skills. Although, to emphasise, this is not a coaching scheme. Does that help, Sonia? And does that help the person who asked that question?
Sorry, has that answered your question? You can come to me.
Sorry, yes, thank you very much. That was very helpful. I was just writing just in case. Very helpful indeed. Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that, because sometimes I have been involved in programs, and sometimes the targets are so specific or so tiny, isn't it? And it doesn't give you the room to explore in a different way, or addressing that personal development, which is probably different for everyone. Yeah, so definitely very helpful. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. And Marnie, did you want to add or anything?
Yes, I just wanted to add in there about we're just coming through this pandemic, and for some people the idea of setting quite a specific objective might feel a bit of a burden and a bit of a scary thought right now, because for some people we're navigating a new normal, whatever that is. It might be a new working structure, it might be a new role, it might be changes, it might be people coming back from furlough that you're now working with that had been on furlough for a while, or perhaps you were the one on furlough, or there's just been such a lot going on. And of course, personally, people have been bereaved, people have been impacted and affected. So I just kind of want to put it out there as well to say that the kind of objective of trying to get back to, your career plan, your career path, or whatever your next objective is, it doesn't have to be so specific that you've got this 100% bottomed out. As specific as you can is helpful, but if it is, navigating your way back into your career, or just really thinking more strategically about your career, that's fine too. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, because the Marnie mentioned when she was talking about her experiences, transport is so diverse, and Women in Transport is very diverse as an organisation. We cover every mode of transport, any discipline working in transport, and every level. And so there's no one size fits all. And, everyone has different challenges and different circumstances. And whilst, we're in no means expecting our mentors to be counsellors or therapists or any of those things, or coaches even, as Angela said, we accept that mentoring isn't happening in a bubble, separate from everything else that is going on. And so it does, you know, that relationship is very much built on trust and mutual understanding and empathy, and it will evolve over time. I think Inez had talked about how her relationship has been evolving and how that relationship has changed, and having that safe space has been really helpful during, you know, various challenges throughout this year. And I think, you know, this pandemic has challenged us all in different ways, and maybe hopefully made us all a bit more empathetic and sympathetic towards other people's circumstances that we didn't necessarily have visibility or understanding of before this. And, you know, hopefully that will lead us all to be a bit kinder to each other and to ourselves going forward. Has anybody got any more questions? No? So in which case I'm, oh, Marnie, go.
Sorry, I was just going to add, although you'll probably have this covered, is people that are maybe thinking of applying as mentor. And again, that sort of eligibility criteria question that came up for mentee. I wonder if we could maybe just mention the mentor side.
Yeah, absolutely. So for mentors, they can be anyone working in transport who is a senior manager or above, and you don't have to have been a mentor before, but if you can just tell us in the questions a bit about, you know, why you want to be a mentor and what's motivating you to do that and what you hope to get out of the mentoring experience, and also a little bit about you, because see, we don't know every single person in the membership, so understanding what's your background, what's your experience, what can you bring to this process to support your mentee, sorry, and that's really helpful for us for the matching process, and that's what determines our ability to match successfully. And Casey starts, when does the program start? So the process is we open applications on the 1st of October for 2 weeks until the 15th of October, and we'll there'll be a mailer out to the membership, and it'll be available on our website as well, and there'll be social posts. And then the training will happen over November, the days are, and the first meeting is from January, so January to September, the window for the mentoring players to meet. But you also have the mentee and mentor engagement sessions, which are around December, April and September as well. So I'm gonna go over a couple of things in closing, but before I do that, I just wonder if we go around each of our panel members, if you want to have any closing thoughts and also your advice to the next cohort of advanced mentees and mentors. So I'll start with, I'll go in the order that we spoke, so I'll go to Charlie and then you pass to Inez.
Ooh, advice. I guess I'd say, as has kind of been touched on several times, is have a plan of what you want, even if that changes, it's fine, but go into the session thinking, how am I going to most use this time? And then on top of that, it's also just being honest with your mentor, you know, so if they kind of say, is this really important to you, do stop and think, and, you know, no airs and graces, even if you've just had a pants day and said, I haven't had time, that's fine. But the flip side is, I had early discussions with my mentor about how I work best. And one was, if you give me a deadline of like, can you get that done in 3 months? It will be done the week before. So we were talking about, you know, even if it's just catch up emails or, you know, sessions in between, it's saying, right, how can we break this down into chunks and touch in so we know it's regularly being kind of taken away in little bits rather than a rush towards the end. So, you know, honesty like that helped me, because it meant that my mentor could work with me in the way that was best for me. Bit embarrassing to admit at the beginning, but good results, so it was worth it. So that's everything for me. Good luck to everyone applying, and yeah, I thoroughly recommend you do, because it's been an awesome experience for me.
Brilliant, thanks. And Inez?
So hi, one thing, yes, I do recommend to try this. It was a great experience, and I still have my relationship with my mentor, so it has been great. I think I'll be reiterating what Charlie said. You always need to be ready for your sessions, meaning prepare in advance what you want to discuss, create a structure for it, and then some of them will be actions from the previous session. And it's important because 1 hour flies away, so it's very quickly, and you always have the next section. But yeah, that would be my advice. Be always ready for your sessions and enjoy.
Fabulous. Marnie.
Okay, so for mentees, just reiterating that, being honest, and if you're changing direction, recognizing that change of direction as well, which is absolutely fine. Above all, just welcome the new relationship and the new network it brings you, and be quite clear as you move forward through the sessions, how you want that time to be used for you. And then for those thinking of applying to be mentors or those existing mentors, really being that sort of facilitator and bringing the best out of the mentee is our primary objective. But to enjoy that process and again be open to that process, because the relationships that we develop with the mentees really create quite a lasting legacy for ourselves individually, for our mentees individually, and wider, the impacts overall that we create for our industry. So it's really important, and all of you, good luck, please apply, and yeah, leave it there.
And Matthew.
So it's the same point I think that others have made. Bring your authentic self to the sessions, okay? And those moments where someone's real passion and belief that have come out in these sessions, I mean, I can still recall them now. They had a powerful impact on me, and and that's it. If you can put that in, you will get a lot out as a mentee. But it's the same for as a mentor. So it's part of that honesty thing. But bring your authentic self to the meetings.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Charlie, Inez, Marnie and Matthew, for again giving your time today, for sharing your experiences, for all your advice. I think it's so helpful just to hear from people who are actually been through the mentoring process, who've been part of the programme, to really share your own experiences. Angela, have you got anything else you want to add before I sum up and close out?
No, I think we've covered everything. It's a great programme. I still love doing it, partly because of sessions like this where you hear about people's journey. So do take the time to prepare for your applications if you're interested. And we look forward to meeting some of you when we do the training in November.
Brilliant. Thanks, Angela. And before I sum up, I just want to say a huge thank you as well to Steve Griffiths and Kirsten Gallia. They have been the most incredible mentee and mentor engagement support over this past year. And Steve, it's his second year doing it. Kirsten was her first year doing it. They do that completely voluntarily. It's all their own time, and they do a fantastic job. So Steve and Kirsten, a huge round of applause to you, and a huge thank you for all that you do. We do appreciate it. And a huge thank you to Angela for being my partner in crime for the advanced programme. It's always an absolute pleasure. So finally, thank you all for spending this time with us, for listening, for giving yourselves this bit of time to share the experiences of our advanced cohort. I hope that you will apply for the programme if it's of interest to you, or share it with others who you think might benefit from it. And even if this programme isn't for you, there's lots of advice, there's blogs, there's videos, there's testimonials, there's experiences on our website. So maybe this programme isn't for you, but maybe on that webpage you'll find a nugget that will help you and support you in your professional development. We are really here, it's our mission. We're a non-profit. Our mission is very much to support professional development of women working in the transport sector, but also to help others in just thriving in this industry and you know, there's lots of things that we've done over the pandemic around flexible working, around looking after yourself, about mental resilience that you might find helpful. So do check it out on the website, and hopefully that will give you a little bit of support, whatever your situation is. So for the advanced program, I said mentoring is that mutual relationship. It's a two-way process. You need to invest the time in it, both whether you're a mentor or a mentee. It's about giving yourself some space to think about what you want to get out of your career, thinking about what the next steps are for you, and really carving out time for yourself. So if you want to apply, applications will open on the 1st of October. You'll have 2 weeks to apply, either as a mentor or a mentee. Mentees, you can be anybody working in transport, as long as you're a woman and a member of Women in Transport at any level, and just think about your application and what you want to get out of the programme. If you're a mentor, you don't have to have been a mentor before. We do provide training for new mentors, but we do ask that you're a senior manager or above, and that you think about what you want to get out of this process, and you tell us a little bit about your experience and skills. There will be training for new mentors. There will be engagement sessions for the mentee and mentor pairs, and there's a framework and an agreement that we put in place to help support those relationships. The commitment is 6 one-hour sessions between January and September, but you can obviously decide between yourselves, if you're matched and you're selected, whether you want to have longer sessions or more sessions or continue a relationship past the programme. But that is within the gift of the mentor, and up to the mentee to ask. This programme is going to be sponsored by TXM Group, Xanta Rail, National Express and Network for Skills. So we're incredibly grateful to our corporate sponsors for allowing us to keep Advance going for another year and allowing it to be an accessible and inclusive programme for our members. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great rest of the afternoon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.